Edgar had a really great Neo-Vision awakening for its time, going dual-wielding jumper and exceeding most expectations. But somehow, now that he's properly going one-handed, he ends up falling short in this day and age. Jump pun! Hit my quota. Embracer of Duty Edgar's Trustmaster reward is a set of light armor with good attack, defense, and spirit. Of course, they're not at the level of a Super Trustmaster reward, but they're all certainly decent. Nevertheless, it's best suited for Edgar himself, giving him an extra 500 attack when it's equipped. His Super Trustmaster reward is a two-handed spear that power creeps Kane's upgraded spear, I kid you not, by 1. Still, whether it's better or not is a bit up in the air. After all, its jump passive, though impressive, loses to Kane's by 50%. It does, however, boast an incredible double dragon killer, which, while impressive, can admittedly be a bit niche. Of course, when Edgar's the only one in question, that's when it best shines, giving him an extra 500 attack. Onto his active abilities. Elemental Burst, Ice, can be used once per battle, boosting Edgar's ice damage by a whopping 150%. Fill Limit Burst fills his Limit Burst. Bursting Break lowers your enemy's stats by 80%. Full Breakdown lowers one enemy's stats by 83%. Provoke 2 is Provoke, but gives Edgar a 75% general mitigation buff. Drill deals damage that partially ignores the enemy's defense, and chains a Bolting Strike. Auto Crossbow hits all enemies, and chains a Stardust Ray. Passives. With his Trustmaster reward or Super Trustmaster reward equipped, Edgar gains a whopping 1000 attack, and half the cap to his Limit Burst damage. He'll really want it, given he doesn't have any without it in the first place. He does, however, have 5 strong killers, a small Limit Burst regen, and a 30% chance to dodge physical attacks. At the start of the battle, he'll automatically cast Preemptive Full Break, lowering your enemy's stats by 70%. He prefers to carry a single weapon, meaning half the cap to the chain limit boost. His normal attack has been changed to attack, which deals damage and fills his Limit Burst gauge by a small amount. At EX plus 2, he gets Warring Spirit 2. At EX plus 3, he gets 500 attack. He also has a nice spread of elemental resistance, though the numbers by themselves aren't too impressive. Let's look at his Limit Burst. It lowers your enemy's defense and spirit by 87%, their elemental resistance by 120%, deals ice damage that gets stronger when used again, and gives Edgar access to Debilitator, Ice, which lowers your enemy's ice resistance by 130%. Then, on the turn after that, it'll automatically lower it by 140%. And then, after that, 150! Oh no, it's just 145%. Okay, that's still good, I guess. Time to change forms. Embracer of Duty Edgar has a true brave shift, which has no limitations whatsoever. Onto his active abilities. Jump can be awakened to strengthen its damage modifier, but the result isn't incredibly impressive, despite being flexible. Figaro Jump will inflict a 30% spear imperil, imbue him with ice, boost Edgar's ice damage by 30%, and then he'll leap in the air. He'll stay up there for a turn before he lands. Royal Thrust deals ice damage that chains a Bolting Strike. Passives. He's gained a Bird Killer in this form, alongside a massive jump and Limit Burst damage boost, and the latter is especially important because it does no damage. He's also gained a bit more ice and lightning resistance, but has lost everything else in return. Let's look at his Limit Burst. It gives him a strong Beast, Dragon, and Reaper Killer, and then strengthens the damage modifier of Figaro Jump. Let's rank Brave abilities. Raising both just raises their damage modifiers. I'd prioritize Figaro Jump, as it has far more potential than Drill. Time to make a damage rotation. You're going to want to do whatever you can to fill his Limit Burst first. Once ready, activate that. On the turn after, activate his Brave Shift, and use Debilitator, Ice, Fill Limit Burst, and Royal Thrust. Next, use his Limit Burst. Now it's time to take to the skies with the legendary Figaro Jump. Do the Figaro Thumb Twiddle while waiting to land, and cap a chain when he's ready to go. Ideally, you'd want to repeat the rotation from here, using Elemental Burst, Ice, before his base Limit Burst, but given his heavy Limit Burst cost, it's going to be hard to stick to it. So, EX2? It really helps, given it heavily speeds up his starting rotation for optimal damage. Unfortunately, we currently don't have a better ice debuffer, and the other one must also wait before her best ice imperil is available anyways, and that's assuming EX plus 3. His Super Trustmaster reward is pretty strong too, though with Atoning Dragoon Cane being a 5-star, it's not extraordinarily chaseworthy unless you're working with just Edgar. EX plus 3 is just stats, and expensive. So how good is Embracer of Duty Edgar? He's quite powerful, able to compare against a standalone Pearl or Stormseeker Esther. Of course, there are caveats to this. Edgar's best jump is fairly slow, and is especially sluggish if you want to use both limit bursts with their heavy cost. There are also parts of his kit that are just a tad bit irksome. Being locked to ice is the obvious, but the Grandest ability's duration noticeably does not last long enough to be paired with Figaro Jump. This doesn't stop you from pairing it with his base limit burst, and in fact can be the better move, depending on what other units or equipment you've got. After all, with all the limit burst modifier boosts flying around, focusing on his base limit burst can provide a higher burst output. Still, there is a core issue that lies with it. Edgar's limit burst modifier is average, and his damage is heavily carried by Elemental Burst, Ice. This becomes a problem once that Grandest buff wears off, especially since Ice is currently lacking in comparative support. As a debuffer, his breaks are okay. Clearly, he's more damage dealer than the buffer, as his best breaks are only against defensive stats, and 87% at that. The Ice Impero is better, being 145%, though it comes with the caveat of not being available immediately. Ultimately, while Edgar's got lots of potential to improve, whether you choose to use him as a jumper or a limit burst damage dealer, he's still unfortunately held back by little things in his kit. Though his starting damage is very strong, it does noticeably fall off, and the low modifiers are just unimpressively average for a neo damage dealer. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment below if you summon Embracer of Duty Edgar.